living in Portugal, traveling the world on Steam. Ladies and gentlemen, HeidiTravels.
Sorry, can you start the pictures over for me? I timed it perfectly. Okay. Good morning. My name is Heidi, and in case you didn't know, I like to travel. I'll go anywhere, really. Tiny fishing towns on the coast of Portugal, dusty Moroccan villages on the outskirts of the Sahara Desert, tiny tropical islands in the South Pacific. I'll go deep into the Peruvian Amazon and survive. And most recently, I learned that I really love the Serengeti. On a side note, if you want to travel through Africa and get a real experience, try taking a bus anywhere, really. I managed to go from Zimbabwe to Tanzania, and it was totally wild, but very much worth it. Anyways, my point is, I've spoken to people all over the world, telling them how I'm able to travel so much, easing them into conversations about cryptocurrency, how it is a real thing, and how it can and has changed the very concept of money and who has the power to control it. I've been to 10 different countries so far, 7 of which have been a direct result of my experience with Steemit. But I haven't always been this ambitious. When I was young in school, everything I was taught, I felt like it was just a way to waste time. The curriculum itself didn't seem very important, just as long as the T's were crossed and the I's had dots. It was all very temporary and inconsequential to me. And looking back now, I think I know why. Back then, when I was asked my all-time favorite question of what I wanted to be when I grew up, I never felt confident in giving a concrete answer. I didn't have any intense passion screaming out of me, just waiting to be realized. And going to college certainly didn't help me choose a specific career path. Although it did help me rediscover writing, which I'm very grateful for. I remember reading somewhere that artistic souls often have trouble focusing on one path. And although there was no way for me to know it at the time, my complete lack of choosing a career would ultimately allow me to go to the very same places that my imagination would take me when I would read things like National Geographic. Like, just over a month ago, I was in the Serengeti, and our 4x4 was nearly smashed by 2 male elephants fighting at night right near the road. And I just remember seeing a cloud of dust and tusks, and just feeling the complete intensity of the moment. Everyone inside the car was silent except for a few gasps and when one would charge at the other. But let's take it back to the first day I left. I went to Portugal for 3 months, and I didn't come home until 3 months later. As it turns out, getting a change of scenery is good for more than just overcoming writer's block. That decision would prove to be a catalyst for epic changes to come. When I returned to my small hometown in Indiana, I realized a few things. First, that homesickness really doesn't affect me. And second, that I needed to travel again. Exploring different countries had changed from more than just something to check off my bucket list into the single most motivating factor in my life. My whole thought process had changed. I finally knew what it felt like to be truly intrinsically motivated. I was constantly calculating how much time it would take for me to save up enough money for my next trip and how long I could afford to be there. At that point, I felt like a horse with a carrot dangling in front of me, tempting me. I didn't know how I could make this happen, but I knew I finally found my passion and the motivation it needed to pursue it. It had taken me 28 years, but I finally know what I want to do with my life. I want to travel everywhere. I want to experience different cultures and see things I never thought I wanted to see, or never thought I'd be able to see. I want to raise my expectations, and I want to meet them. At this point, I'd already dabbled a bit with making money online. I built my own website along with a few others for some friends so I could make some cash to pay rent. I knew the internet held the answers for my traveling dreams, I just hadn't quite figured out how. Then this beautiful thing called SteemFest came into my life, and although at first I saw it as just one more stream of income to help the lifeline that was my travel budget, it very quickly turned into the sugar daddy that I never knew I wanted. I won't bore you with the details of the blogs I'd written or the fact that I'd made more money in 2 months than I had in the past 5 years combined. That's not important. What is important, though, is that this platform has enabled me to ask all of the questions. The dumb ones, the obvious ones, the repeated ones, and if I'm lucky, the enlightened ones. Questions like, why are we different? How are we similar? What can I learn from this place? And what can I do to leave a positive impact? For me, traveling from place to place, briefly being immersed in someone else's reality is like getting a peek inside what my life could have been like had I been born in that situation. It's taught me how much I can empathize from people from cultures completely different from my own. And it's taught me to fully appreciate the opportunities and blessings that God has enabled to be in my life. But the most obvious reason why I'm able to go to these places and have these experiences is thanks to the creators of SteemFest, Ned and Dan. And really, if you think about it, I'm also indebted to the pioneers of cryptocurrency itself. It's because of them I was able to have a conversation with a woman in Cape Town, telling her how cryptocurrencies can be the solution for the ever-increasingly strict and invasive requirements to have a bank account there. It's why I was able to raise money for Laura, a friend of mine, who moved from Indiana to Peru without knowing anyone or having any past experience. And yet she was able to build up an after-school program for the children of Huaycan, Peru, teaching them English and even the basics of how to code, all in hopes of solidifying their escape from the poverty there. They're the reason why I was able to meet a cool guy from Zimbabwe named Cool. He showed me firsthand what life is like in the slums of Ferrari. He taught me about the shocking wealth divide, and I taught him about SteemFest and Bitcoin. They're the reason I was able to meet with a young man in Zambia named Ivor, who was using all of his time and all of his money to establish a self-sustaining school for over 100 orphans. Even Laura have hopes and plans that span further into the future than their funding will allow, but that doesn't stop them. And that's when a huge blinding light went off for me. I could easily set up a Bitcoin wallet for them and help get the word out about their programs. And this would be a really safe and transparent way for them to receive funding. That's the beauty of the blockchain, right? Ivor is now established in what I consider to be a very solid investment, and more importantly, it's in a currency that will never hyperinflate. It didn't take long for Ivor to realize how Bitcoin could help him. When I first began telling him how it works and its current value, I could see the gears in his head start to turn. He was realizing that Bitcoin could be the answer to all of his problems dealing with the banks and bureaucracy. Really, all it takes is a conversation. I absolutely believe that cryptocurrencies have the ability to take many people out of their desperate situations and into a life that would have otherwise just been a pipe dream. In my experience, the people I've spoken with in Africa have been the most enthusiastic and open to investing in cryptos. It's a place where nearly every single citizen is very, very hardworking, and yet most live in poverty. But they're all hungry for a lucky break, and I definitely think cryptocurrency is just that. Of course, it will take time and a lot of effort to get the information widespread, but there is no denying the need is there. I believe as long as there is a need, there will be a way to fill it. And one day soon, cryptocurrency will be more than for just the techies. It'll be for anyone who's interested in investing and storing their money without dealing with the red tape. If it weren't for my own exposure to cryptocurrencies, I'd be back in my father's sign shop, filling orders for the local politicians and the real estate companies. But instead, here I am, talking to you all now, telling you how I've been inspired and my eyes have been open to what cryptocurrencies can do. What I'm getting at is that everyone here has some knowledge regarding cryptocurrency, whether it's a little or you're a bona fide genius. But I believe we all have the responsibility to spread the knowledge with others. And Digital currency isn't going anywhere. I think we all know that. But I think we should try our best to, let's do our best to spread it to places where it hasn't yet reached and where it's needed most.
Guys, so you didn't tell about the shark adventure.